Hello everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in our Better Bristol crowdfunding series. Today we are going to be looking at creating your project. So just to recap, in the last episode we looked at planning your project. So if you weren't there for that webinar, the links are available via the Eventbrite page or on our YouTube channel. This is a really good opportunity to understand the basics of crowdfunding, and by completing that guide, it will give you a firm foundation moving forward. So today we're going to look specifically at creating your project page. So that will include writing a description, creating a video, thinking about great rewards, and setting your target. So here is an example of a project page. In your guide, there's a fantastic further example of Mockin Coffee, where we've really highlighted all the different key areas that you should include on this project page. As you can see here, you want to start with a punchy and succinct title. And to the right of the video, you can see the project aim. So this should be a short and concise summary of what it is you're trying to achieve. As we scroll down the page, you can see there is a nice split of copy, visual imagery, and they've separated these with nice subheadings, which makes it much more navigable experience and certainly easier to engage with. On the right-hand side, we have the various different pledges available. Spike Island have included quite a nice range of different pledges. So they've had a look at their network map and offered something for all the different groups that they've identified within it. From looking at these example pages, which I certainly would recommend, there are a few further examples in your pack which you can have a look at. You can see how effective the rewards have been in each case. So underneath the copy, it tells you exactly how many people pledged on each reward. I would say for this example, their copy is quite long in the reward description, so try and keep this again short and sharp so it's very clear exactly what someone is trying to pledge on. So the description is really the key element in your project page. As this is where you're able to tell the story of who you are and why it's important, and really spell that rationale out. We'd like you to include these key features. So when you're looking at what you're trying to achieve, think about the actual project aim, but also the overall benefit that a visitor will gain from supporting your project, and what the benefit is to the local society in Bristol. What makes your project great? Think about what's unique, what's really interesting, and really champion that cause so people know exactly why it's important and why they should make a pledge. And in turn, introduce yourself. So who are you and what's your experience? Introduce your team. After all, at Crowdfunder, we always say people fund people. So it creates a bit of a human element to what you're trying to do, and also a bit of credibility, because they know that there are real people behind this project making it happen. So the description is a very important tool to use, and you should try and make it as simple and as clear as possible. Make sure that every bit of content counts on that, so a visit to your page can really understand what you're trying to do, drive them towards making that pledge, and then in turn make it easy for them to share your project aim with their own personal audience. It's certainly worth running your description by a friend or a family member to make sure that you've got those key pieces of information, that you haven't missed anything out. So here are a few different features that you can include in your project description. As we discussed earlier, the headings are a really great way to separate the different levels of content and draw the eye, so someone visiting your page can really see and access the key information that's available. Imagery is a great way to add a bit of visual texture to your project page, to break up the content, add a bit of color, and they're great aids to support what you're saying and add a bit of interest in what you're doing. As we mentioned before, team photos could be really important because it is a local project, and particularly with your personal audience, they do want to see your faces on there, and it will encourage people to pledge. And it shows people exactly who's behind it, and adds that bit of credibility we were talking about. So infographics, they're a great way to make data a bit more interesting. So if you have any facts or figures that you would like to communicate with your audience, think about interesting ways in which you can represent that data. Maps, certainly I think for this campaign of projects, could be quite important, because by showcasing exactly the area that you're concerned with, it enables the local residents to get on board with what you're doing, to relate to the area in particular. And testimonials, again, a great way to add a bit of credibility to your page, get some of those opinion leaders on there. And if you remember back to our last session when we were talking about identifying those key influencers in your network map, this could be a good opportunity to approach them before you go live and say, can we include a point on our page from you? And this way you can engage them early and hopefully anchor in their support moving forward. So adding a video, this is by no means completely necessary or essential for your crowdfunding project, but we do highly recommend it if you have the time and can put one together. The reason being that it just provides another level of content for someone to engage with on the page. Some people like to read, some people like to watch, and as you know, on the internet, watching really is a very popular activity. So it's a good opportunity to summarize exactly what you're trying to do, and create a bit of shareable content which can feature on other social channels and be shared outwards towards other networks. So keep it short, keep it sweet. Certainly you don't want anything longer than 2 minutes, we would advise. Do get other people involved in the filming to help to add a bit of variety and interest in the picture. They're not something that have to be overly scripted, so just make sure that you get your key points across so that anyone knows watching the video is exactly what you're trying to do, why it's important, and that they should make a pledge on your project. So certainly worth including the link at the end. Okay, so again, rewards aren't essential for a crowdfunding campaign, but we do again recommend that you include them because we see the average pledge go up if you include rewards. For a basic donation project, the average pledge is around £11, whereas for a rewards-based project, the average pledge goes up to around £50. So products and services, if they're relevant to your business, are a fantastic way to really build up an initial customer base, a very real customer base, and start testing your business and getting some early support. In our previous example, we were talking about Phil's bakery. When he was able to, if you pledged £100, he could then deliver a loaf of bread every week for 6 months. The same kind of example would work for a community farm with preparing a vegetable box. If products and services aren't relevant to your project, and they're not something that you can supply, then there might be someone locally who can. So these could be local businesses or companies who can't necessarily make a financial donation, but might be able to want to contribute in another way. So it might be that they can provide a particular reward that you can give away on their behalf. So have a think about who these people might be. They might be very useful partners going forward. So experiences and events are fantastic rewards as well. They're great at driving a bit of community engagement. and adding a bit of brand history, some important dates and times in the life of your project. These might be particular events, so an invitation to a festival, for example, or these could be workshops that you can run to really educate audiences on the skills that your project is concerned with. So this could be a cooking masterclass, for example. Or in turn, it could be an away day for a team at the community farm to learn about sustainable living and vegetable growing. When we talk about sponsorship, we mean directing some rewards at that corporate level to try and attract some bigger pledges. So have a think about what the local businesses and organisations would benefit from their support. This could be their branding within your venue for your project. It could be that they could sponsor a particular part of your project, like the construction of a classroom, for example, or they could sponsor something that's really tangible. For example, accommodation for 100 homeless people in the Bristol area. When we're talking about thank yous, that's on the very basic level. It might be you can think along those lines if there's something interesting you can offer for those local basic donations. Often we see examples of people using ebooks, which seems to be quite effective, easily made on a PDF and easy to distribute. So, setting your target, as you know, the Better Bristol criteria requires that it is between £6,000 and £8,000. It really is about is realistic based on the audience that you have, make your project happen. Do bear in mind that there is 5% fees charged once you reach your target on that amount. And do bear in mind any associated costs with supplying rewards to ensure that by the end of the project, you have enough money to make your idea happen. So it's sometimes easier to visualize your target in terms of people. So as we said, if you have got a good range of rewards on your project page, and the average pledge, is around £50. So think about your target, divide that by 50, and that will give you the number of people that you need to make that average pledge. And because 5%, 1 in 20 people who view a project make a pledge, you need to times that figure by 20 to get an idea of your overall audience. So again, refer back to your network map and look at if you've got the audience there to support your project and what you need to do if you need to expand it. So what's next? It's fantastic to see that people have started adding their projects. So for those of you who haven't, please do follow the link that I sent in my emails, which is the sign up to the Better Bristol campaign, so we can track your progress. It's easier for us to help and pitch in on the way. If you have any questions in the meantime, please do reach out. I'm more than happy to help. Today, so that's us down on creating your page. The next session will be Thursday, 25th of May, where we'll be looking at running your project. And so the next steps that we're going to be looking at is running your project, as we said, in the next webinar. So please make sure that you've downloaded the associated guide from the Eventbrite page, that you followed that link and started creating your project on the crowdfunding website, and make sure that you're up to date with the previous webinars and the guides, and that you're comfortable with that content. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope that was helpful. I will be in touch over the next few days to organise some one-to-one sessions. So I'll be emailing you out, requesting that you email me with a time and a date that works for you so we can run through your project. So we will look forward to hearing from you and see you next time. Many thanks.